Ain't no Dracos or fofos, and you will not be saved by the COs. Sometimes it's not even safe when the doors close. Just knife play and hand-to-hand combat in a land where it's never combat. Fake tough guys and actors sometimes get forced to put their boxers on backwards.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. You already know what it is, man. Once again, we got another fire. I guarantee this interview gonna be fire, man. Jumping off, we got my good friend of mine, Bakersfield Bear in the house. I call him Bakersfield Bear, but actually his name is Bear, and he's from the city of Bakersfield. So Bear, introduce yourself a little bit and let us know a little bit about Bakersfield for those who may not be familiar with it.
Yeah, first and foremost, Bakersfield finally in the building. You know what I'm saying? Welcome me to, as my boy Chill, man. I'm so proud of you, man. I want to say thank you for inviting me to your show, man. I always watch your content, and you one of the realest on the YouTube, man. I appreciate you inviting me on your show.
Hey, thank you for coming on, homie.
Yes, indeed. First and foremost, my name's Bear. Hail from Bakersfield, California. You know what I'm saying? Raised out here since I was 2 years old. I was actually born in the city of Kansas City. You can see them Chiefs up there up top. But I've been in Bakersfield since I was 1.5 years old, 2 years old, and I grew up on the east side of Bakersfield. You know what I mean? The predominantly black, historically known part of Bakersfield. You know, a lot of dudes that come from the South or Los Angeles, and when I say the South, I mean Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and all of that stuff. When a lot of blacks migrated to California and moved to our city, they came to the East Bakersfield. That was known as, like a real predominantly black area or part of the town back then. Still is to this day. Yeah.
Bear, at the age of 16 years old, was sentenced to 33 years. He didn't have life, but he was sentenced to 33 years at the age of 16, and actually was sent to prison on the yard with grown men at the age of 16. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But okay, so Bear, break down, how you say, a lot of blacks had migrated to the East Bakersfield and stuff. So what was it like for you growing up? Did you have, brothers and sisters, or what was your family dynamics like?
So my mom had my grandfather, my mom's dad had moved here, working in the fields and all of that type of stuff. Bakersfield's an agriculture town, still is. It's more city than it was at the time, but at the time back then, it was, came out here to pick cotton pretty much. And my mother being from Kansas City, Missouri, she falling out with my grandmother. She came out here to Bakersfield before I was born and was kind of hanging out with my grandpa. He stayed on Lakeview and Potomac in the hood, you know what I'm saying? So she developed relationships and friendships with people and went back and forth pretty much. Got pregnant with me. I can go on record with this one, but my dad, he's rest in peace now, but he was heavy into the drug scene back then. And story been told is that my dad had did some scandalous shit. Saying he shot the car up with me inside of the car, and my mother just up and took me. She hadn't had my brother yet, and moved to Bakersfield, California. You know what I'm saying? And she's been there ever since. I was like about a year and a half old at that time.
Yeah.
So.
And what year were you born?
I was born 7/17/1978.
What was it like for you? What was it like for you growing up?
It was different. You know what I'm saying? Coming out here, had very few family, but family situation was weird. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of family that came from. It wasn't just me and my mom. It was a lot of my dad's family who kind of came out here. They was all in Los Angeles, and a lot of them came to Bakersfield too. So it was different. Growing up extremely poor. You know what I'm saying? Extremely poor. Mom's, pretty much raising me on her own, me and my sister. So I ended up having a brother and a younger sister. My brother's about 2 years apart from me, and my sister's about 5 years younger than me. And it was difficult, you know what I'm saying? Very, very difficult, you know what I mean? So, and on top of that, my mom was young, and she got into street life at a young age, you know what I'm saying? She was out here making it do what it do.
And I don't know if I asked you earlier, and if I did, please just reiterate, where exactly is Bakersfield located in California?
Structurally, we're Southern California, Central Valley. Okay. So we are pretty much the ass-in city of Southern California. but we are in the Central Valley.
Okay. So at one point, I believe your city was the defining line in terms of the Northerners and the Southerners as far as the Hispanics go, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
very, very, very much. It's weird as hell because us being from Bakersfield, we kind of see them all because you have Delano, which is probably 90% Northern. Bakersfield is 100%. I've heard the stories of, Bakersfield at one point in time housing Northerners or Northerners living here, which I'm not a Hispanic, so I can't go on the history about that. But as far as I've been on, as long as I've been living, Bakersfield's been 100% Southsiders.
I didn't really know how wild and how much killing and shooting was going on in Bakersfield till about 2000 and I believe 5 or something. I was in North Kern, or I was in Corcoran, and the
Right.
Bakersfield happenings and incidents would come on the news, as well as Fresno, and it's really off the chain. You guys got a cold gang presence out there. Can you break down a little bit what's that's like out there?
But as far as the east side, you have 6 gangs that's predominantly on our side of town. You have the Mid City Project, Stroller Boys, Clifton, Lakeview, and if I'm missing somebody else, so it's Mid City Projects, Stroller Boys, Lakeview, Clifton, Spoonie G. How the hell I forget that? Those are the predominant gangs on the east side of Bakersfield, California. We don't have, it's all Crips over there. On the south side, they have about 4 or 5 different gangs. I can't really speak on what they got. I don't know exactly. I know they have Watson Lotus. Now, in the last like 10 years, they claim neighborhood Crips over there. And you go over on the west side. West side is a different animal because when I was growing up, the majority of the west side was Bloods. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them were claiming the Warlords. A lot of LA gangs. I remember, shout out to my boy G Slim, just two for the record. Inglewood Family Dudes was over there. And as we got older, the Crippin', and they've been Crippin' over there for a minute, but I'm saying the majority of the Bloods from Bakersfield, California, were on the west side of Bakersfield. I mean, so that's how it was. Going back to what I was saying, as far as Bakersfield, or at least the east side being the originality of what all the blacks were. So we just so happened to be the bigger, predominant gang in Bakersfield because of the way the Bakersfield was structured as far as the housing of blacks. So we had the majority of blacks that lived over there. So of course, all the kids and grandkids, everybody kind of came from over there.
So as you understand the history, when did Crippin' and Blood and the LA gang culture make its way out to Bakersfield?
From my knowledge, and remind you, I'm in my 40s, but Crippin' started pretty early than I originally thought. It started like about 75, 76. You know what I mean? A lot of old dudes that was out there, adapted it and was kind of just emulating what they saw from LA. I'm out here, doing the do out there in the streets, cripping, wearing rags, and you know what I'm saying, just adapting that lifestyle. You know what I mean? But as far as like a neighborhood being attached to it, that would have been around like about 77, 78 is when the first original Crips in Bakersfield was Mid City Crips in East Bakersfield, California, was the first official Crips in Bakersfield. And after them was the Midnight Stroller Boys, adapted the Crip moniker. And then after them, I believe it was the Spoonie G's who adapted the Crip moniker. And then from that point forward, we would go to like South Bakersfield, the Country Boy Crips, the Southside Country Boy Crips started cripping out there. They was all there. Now, mind you, a lot of these people a lot of these areas already had gangs. They just wasn't Crips. So you had dudes that was cripping with no neighborhood, was just, in the greater part of East Bakersfield, California. But when people started officially throwing a neighborhood on top of the Crip, was it around about 76, 77, somewhere, from what I believe, from what I've been told by multiple big homies.
Bakersfield is often in the top 5 violent cities as far as murders per capita. When did that shift into that real wild gunplay and gangbanging and shooting?
That would probably be my generation, which I can speak on. Not going to incriminate myself, anything like that. But yes, my generation, the late 80s, early 90s is when Bakersfield took off to a different stratosphere because there had been shootings, there had been murders, there had been a lot of gun violence, jump-ins and all of that type of stuff. But, sometimes crime happened and then it kind of waters down. People start kicking it again. But the early 90s, late 80s, 100% sure the violence in Bakersfield took off to a different level from our city, for sure. And that's Hispanics and blacks, you know, because the Southsiders out here be doing their shit too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna take nothing away from them. But as far as on some Crip shit, Crip and Blood shit, yeah, it took off. It went to a whole nother level in the early 90s. I'm talking about 90, 91, 89. It's been, like I said, crimes been happening, but as far as like the wars that's been 30 years long was in the early 90s.
Right. And so when did you become involved in street activity, gangs, hanging out in the streets, you know, that type of stuff?
I adapted it early. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you. I remember one time I was in 3rd grade, and you know, people come to school dressed as firemen and cowboys and stuff that they want to be in their life. I came in there with some creased up Levi's and some Nikes, sagging with a blue rag. You know what I'm saying? Getting up in front of the class, and they had, you know, but I'm young. You know, I'm in 3rd grade, and I don't know no better. But I'm a
Right.
Crip. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget being snatched up by my shirt and taken to the office, and they call my mom and tell her to come pick me up. So yeah, as far as like being out, you know, and I ain't gonna say as far as violence, but definitely hanging out, being in the streets, you know, stealing and, you know, robbing and driving. And I started at a young age. I would say, to be honest, about 7 to 8 years old, because I had already went to juvenile hall when I was about 5 or 6 years old for stealing mail. You know what I'm saying? It was a lady, one of our neighbors used to, you know, people used to get them food stamps back in the day. Remember, you get that food stamp packet.
Uh-huh.
And she used to pay us, like, you know, real money to go in people's mail and steal and shit like that. So I had already experienced juvenile hall when I was like 6 years old. And I'm talking about like 10 days. I think I did like 10 days. So I was very accustomed to, and like I said, my mom was in the streets, you know what I'm saying? She's a Christian woman now, but she was in the streets. So I ain't gonna say she didn't care, but I got away with a lot of dumb shit.
How was your mom's reaction when she learned that you was in juvenile hall for those 10 days? And do you think going to juvenile hall at such of a young age had any effect on you?
Extremely. The first time I went to juvenile, she told me to keep me. You know what I'm saying? She walked up in that motherfucker and found out what it was for. She told him to keep his ass because she just wanted, that was her way of trying to tell me, like, this ain't the way to do shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I was afraid to go home. So she ended up taking me home, but I would have rather stayed in that motherfucker to avoid them ass whippings she used to give. So yeah, you know what I mean? So right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, so what age would you say that you was full-fledged gang banging out there on the streets, you know, that type of stuff?
For me, about 11 or 12. I can tell you a little small story. In 1991, it was January 1st. It was the new year, and we had just been saying we were gang members. We wasn't actually out there doing nothing. And it was somebody had threw, no names. They had threw a party, like a house party.
Uh-huh.
And it was me and a few of my friends, you know what I'm saying? And it was one older dude who didn't even bang. He wasn't even from our neighborhood because they didn't want to let us in. You know what I'm saying? So he was like on some, let's go shoot they shit up. You know what I mean? And a few of my dudes like, yeah, let's go get it. Let's go do it. You know what I mean? And nigga had a rifle, a 22 rifle. And while my dumb ass stand up and like, nigga, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? And went in front of the house. Stood out there, and it wasn't even an automatic. It was one where you clack back, clack pow, and I shot the party up. You know what I'm saying? And I was 12 years old, and I remember running down the street, throwing it, but my dumb ass had the bullets in the back of my pocket. The police we walking down the street, and they pulled us over in front of a church, patted us down, and they find the bullets in my pocket, and I ended up going to juvenile hall. This is January 1991. I didn't turn 13 until July of 91. So I ended up doing like about 4 or 5 months. And when I got out from there and I got back out, my name was on a different level. So that was like the introduction into, you know what I'm saying? Like, it took me from being just a random nigga in the neighborhood. And when I got out from that case, it was my age. It was praising me on a different level because shot the party up. You know what I'm saying? It was different. So that was my defining moment into a different way of gangbanging. Because we all said we was gang members. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, everybody was saying we East Side Crips, but we really wasn't. You know what I'm saying? We was just residents of the East Side.
And I think you said something that was extremely important and profound, that, you know, while you were sitting in juvenile hall even though you didn't know it, your name had took off and you had been elevated in the minds of your, your homies and stuff because of that act of violence. And so when you come home, now you're getting praise, you recognize people is treating you different. And sometimes it's that recognition and the quest to be recognized that propels us to do more. Now that we look at them, dumber acts, because at the time, though, those are the type of things that we get congratulated for, we got praised for.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, in my mind, I thought that was some dumbass shit. Like, nigga, you know what I mean? Like, while I'm doing the time in juvenile hall, I get out, you know what I'm saying? I'm pushed up, got a little chest sticking out. That like I was that dude, and mentally, I didn't really kind of know how to accept that. You know what I'm saying? It just made me hungry for more attention. You know what I'm saying? It made me want to do stuff for that same recognition. Like,
so fast forward to the age of 16, you look up, you didn't got caught up in a criminal charge that eventually landed you in prison. What was your mind state like? And did you comprehend at the time how much time you was facing and stuff like that?
Yeah. Let me rewind a little bit because it's a weird story.
Okay.
So 1991, that happened. I'm 12 years old. So 1992, I was involved in another altercation involving guns. And in 1993, the summer of 1993, I was involved in another shooting. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Camp Owens for that shooting in 1993, which I got out in 1994. So by that time, man, my head is like this. You know what I'm saying? My head is on extreme. I'm doing grown man shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm driving cars like I don't got no curfew. I'm out doing whatever I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So leading up to that crime, it's weird as hell, man, because it took that crime for me to realize what I was doing. So leading up to that, I thought I was the hardest CRIP in California. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping 100. But that's just the way I felt. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of dudes that was my age praised me. That's how they looked up to me, because of the stuff that I was doing was stuff that was on a grown man's level. You know what I'm saying?
And so eventually and only elaborate as much as you feel comfortable with, or even not at all. What type of situation landed you in the juvenile courts at 16 where you eventually was sent to prison?
So going back to the case of 1993, I had a shooting that was involved. 1994 in our city, between 1993 and 1994, for my generation, that was epic. I mean, meaning it was back and forth. The war between the gangs that was going out here was every day, all night. You know what I'm saying? So when I caught that case in 1994, the judge had no mercy pretty much. When I went in there, they had already knew me. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, this, because I was a juvenile. So I go up in there and it's the same judge I didn't went in there and seen 3-4 different times. And he's saying in court, like, dude, your crimes are getting more and more violent every time you come in here. You know what I'm saying? So they eventually decided to charge me as an adult. You know what I'm saying? At 16 years old, I when I first caught the case, I was 40 days into my 16th birthday. They bound me over for adult court and tried me as adult, facing at the time 96 years in prison.
So did you end up going to trial, taking a plea deal, or how did that work?
I attempted to make a plea. They offered me 20 years the first time. I had a co-defendant, and he had other plans on his mind. You know what I mean? And they offered me 18 years the second time, and he denied that as well, because they wouldn't separate our case. Because I was willing to, you know what I'm saying, to take the plea bargain and go to YA and get out in 7 years. So, but not straying away from the question, my crime was a home invasion robbery. You know what I mean? We attempted to rob some drug dealers that wasn't from our city. You know what I mean? And shit got ugly. You know what I mean?
Was your crimey or your co-defendant, was he a juvenile as well?
One of my crimeys was a juvenile. So in that case, there was one individual was 20, and the other individual was 15. He got sent. The 15-year-old got sentenced like immediately. He was in jail 30 days before they offered him his deal, and he took it. And he ran off to YA. So because of my violent history, that I stayed a little bit longer being tried as an adult. So me and the 20-year-old as the ones who faced the charges. You know what I'm saying?
And so the reason why they didn't allow you to take the deal or whatever, so basically it was a package deal.
It was a package deal.
Both you guys had to accept a deal, or it wasn't just available to one of you guys. And
Right,
so what happened? You end up going to trial, or so how did you end up with the 33 years?
So we ended up going to trial. You know what I'm saying? This dude had bad intention from the get-go. I didn't believe. I thought he was a solid dude. You know what I'm saying? I keep it 100. He wasn't the dude that I would normally. You know, I was gangbanging this dude from a different side of town, and you know, he had put his rag down and started kind of hanging with my homies, and you know, they introduced me to him, and I started fucking with him on some money shit, and but he was a snitch in the past. I didn't know he had told previously, because I didn't know the dude like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. I just met him through a couple other acquaintances. The dude was just a habitual snitch, you know, keeping 100. And so yeah, when the whole time when they're offering these 20 years, he already kind of had in his mind, you know what I mean, nigga, I ain't going out like that. I'm telling you, feel me?
Right. So I guess, you know, he comes, you guys go to trial, he comes and he puts as much as he can on you, or he puts all of it on you, as much as I guess the courts will allow him to, right?
Right. So he tried to pretty much say that somebody else was involved in the crime that he wasn't. And it was one of my homeboys that he wanted to tell on, you know what I mean? And yeah, he did it all. He went in that motherfucker, like his name is Shitty Bear. He stayed on Whoopty Whoop Street. He's from Project CRIP on the east side. He did it all. He got up in the stand and sung like a motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, he was trying to pretty much say that he had no involvement with it, and that such and such had involvement with it.
So how much time did you wind up with, and how much time did he wind up with?
He ended up with a 15-year sentence, I believe. So because you know, keeping him all the way 100, they offered me the same deal they offered him to tell. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't in me. You feel me? So
right.
With his testimony, he received a lighter sentence, and I got the full. They broke everything down off of facing 96 years. They gave me, I believe, a midterm. I don't know how that shit broke down, but I ended up with a 33-year, 10-month sentence at the age of 16 years old. And
that was back in the time when you was at least eligible for halftime, right?
Right.
And so what was it like for you, man, at 16 years old, hearing that you just been sentenced to 33 years? How did your mind process that?
To be honest, man, not to seem on some bravado crazy, I didn't know how to feel. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I was scared, and I was more so scared because how the juvenile hall staff treated me. You know what I'm saying? When they get in my mind, I still thought I was going to go to YA, the California Youth Authority. I thought they were just going to come cuffle me up and take me to YA. You know what I mean? Listening to my lawyer, like there's no way they're going to send me to California State Prison. No way. So all the way up until the time they came and got me, man, I didn't cry. I didn't know what to feel. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what to feel until I actually got there. That's when it really hit me.
So during this process, this trial procedure, your lawyer is assuring you that even though they've charged you as an adult, you won't actually go to the prison with adults. You'll go to California Youth Authority.
Yes, they told me from the time he was hired on as my lawyer, he's like, don't worry about it. You know, you'll go to Y and do 7 years, which I was. You know what I'm saying? I'll jump on that. You know what I mean? I was, hell yeah, I'll take it. You know what I mean? So even throughout the trial, he kept telling me throughout the sentence that you're going to be going to California Youth Authority. This is just a process that you have to go through. Don't worry about it. They're not going to send you to California State Prison at 16 years old. You're good. You know what I mean?
That turned out to be the exact opposite. So when do you find out that you are going to, California State Prison in there with the adults?
The day I went in there, you know what I mean? I'm surprised he didn't give me 100 years. You know what I'm saying? I go in there with pigtails in my hair. I'm sagging. And then he stood, the judge told me right then and there, he says, man, I don't care for your safety, your well-being. You're big enough, you're old enough, you know what I'm saying, to survive in the prison settings. You know what I'm saying? I'm hereby sentencing you to 33 years and 10 months for the crimes that you've committed. You know what I mean? And I just was like shocked. I came back. They notified the juvenile hall of what had happened, and they locked me up. They wanted to keep me away from all the rest of the juveniles at that point.
And so at the age of 16, just to give us an idea, because you just said, which to me I thought was crazy, the judge said that you're old enough, pretty much, you're big enough, you're sophisticated enough to go to a prison for an adult, a male prison for adults, and basically handle yourself and be all right. About how tall were you and how much did you weigh?
I was about 158, I believe, on my conviction. 5'8", you know what I'm saying? No facial hair. I had like a light mustache, sideburns and shit like that. No beard or nothing like that. But for some odd reason, I guess my presence. I always been a bigger dude for dudes that was my age, but I wasn't a 6 foot 15-year-old phenom or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think just the sophistications of my crime, like you said, it went from, stealing mail to shooting to a home invasion robbery with, I believe it was 4 people involved. They just had it. They was sick of my shit. You know what I'm saying?
So you said you was 5'8", pretty much 5'8", 160, and the judge said, okay, you're big enough to handle yourself in prison with these grown men, and that's where I'm sending you to.
Yeah, see, that's that. Wow. But those words came back to bite him in his ass just for a tad bit because fast forward, and that was one of the reasons why my case was overturned 3 years later because he used those words. But I'll let you continue. Ask that later on in the show.
Okay. So now you get sentenced. You look up. You're 16 years old, and they send you to Calipatria State Prison, level 4.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I went through Wasco first, and then I was in Wasco maybe 20 days. And I remember in Wasco, everybody's like, man, one place you don't want to go is, Centinela or Calipatria State Prison. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Pelican Bay, Folsom, those were all the the prima donna prisons that a lot of people, when they get their transport pack bag that they don't want to go to. So when I end up getting that paper, they end up sliding that bag under my door, and that motherfucker said Calipatria 4. I'm like, God damn, this shit is real. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's where I ended up.
And so let me explain the process for those out there who don't know real quick. So once you get sentenced in California, you leave the county jail. They send you to an initial prison, which is known as a reception center. And at the reception center, they analyze you, diagnose you, figure out what type of prison and what type of housing you need. And then they send you to whatever prison they determine that you need to go. So that's when he said Wasco. At that time, Wasco was a reception center. And so let me ask you, what were the grown men at Wasco saying to you? Like,
that shit was the weirdest feeling on earth, man, because I'll never forget it when they brought me in and I was in the initial, like when Wasco, they have all these different cages and the staff was telling them like this, we got to fucking see. They don't know how to respond. You know what I'm saying? We got a guy that's fucking 16 years old sitting over here. So they tried to isolate me, kind of brought me in there like, hey, you going to be okay? I'm on some gangster shit. I'm on some nigga. Hell no, I'm good. You feel me? Like, leave me alone. Yeah. I don't want to go to no, I at that time was already aware about the PCs and all that old shit. Don't treat me no different. You know what I mean? So when I got in there, I was fortunate enough to move in a cell with a dude that was hella cool. He didn't really give me much game, but he was in disbelief. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, it was like a rodeo show though. You know what I'm saying? The police would kind of like line up and come to the cell and just kind of look at me. You know what I'm saying? Knock on the door all the time until I kind of went down there like, hey, bro, like, hey, y'all making me look crazy, man. Quit coming to my fucking cell. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what it was. That was in Wasco. But it was weird as hell, but you know what I mean? Because I was a shock to the CDC system at that time for a 16-year-old dude to be in California State Prison. I hadn't heard of any. You know what I mean?
So when you hit Calipat, were you aware about the, because I know I didn't know anything about the politics, with the Crips, the Bloods, the Northerners, the Southern Hispanics. When did you start, hearing about all that type of stuff? And
when I got that bag, you know what I'm saying? When I got that bag, I ain't gonna lie, it was more people who felt sorry for me than I felt for myself. A lot of dudes like, damn, like, nigga, they sending you to the, you know what I'm saying? Like that. And it wasn't scaring me a little bit. I'm beyond it. Hell yeah, it was because it's like everybody else like feeling bad for me. Like, nigga, like, damn, they sent you over there. Like, whoo, like, nigga, you just don't even know what you in store for. So yeah, you know what I mean? It was a little bit different. A couple of dudes come up and tell me, the kind of the rules. Don't gamble. Don't bet on, you know what I'm saying? Don't bet on your ass. Don't get involved in no sexual, homosexual activity, stuff like that. The small little basic rules, you know what I mean? People trying to prepare me for what was in store. But had I known, it was different. You know what I'm saying? So.
And so how long do you believe you were at Calipat before you seen a horrific act of violence or whatever happened to make you realize, okay, I'm here with the big boys?
First day I get there, you know what I'm saying? The cold part about it, so I get there, so it was the second day, so within 24 hours. So I get there kind of late, and like about 5 o'clock when I finally left their R&R, which is when you come from Moscow to their prison, and they kind of find you housing once again. Because I'm so young, they don't really know how to house me. They don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So they stuck me on C yard, and so it was kind of late. So that following morning is when they let me out to go to orientation, and I had like, it was the first day, my first, I ain't gonna say altercation, but my first incident was with, you know what I mean? I when I come to they didn't even have gates up. Now Calipatria has gates up, which kind of divides the yards. And I kind of walk up and I'm like, and I hear people calling this dude like, hey, J-Lo, help me out, J-Lo. So in my mind, Loke, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking this nigga's a Crip. You know what I'm saying? I walk up to him like, hey, cuz, whoa, he spin on me. What? Your blood, what you say, nigga? You know what I'm saying? Nigga, what you, nigga, what? And another dude who kind of heard what my situation was come running up to him like, hey, no, that's the little nigga I was telling you about. That's the 16-year-old nigga. You feel me? Like, that's him. So he kind of toned it down a little bit, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget it, bro. He kind of like schooled me like, hey, my nigga, I'm J-Lo, nigga, L-O-W-K, nigga, I'm from Swans. I'm like, hey, bro, that was the first time a nigga just banged on me. I was shook. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It's a grown-ass man. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga banged on me, but he telling me with love, like, my nigga, like, don't get it fucked up, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to, you know what I'm saying, tone it down. Youngster, everybody over here ain't Crips, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Swan. I'm J-Lo, the L-O-W-K, all the shit. And that shit fucked me up, bro. You know what I'm saying? It kind of, you know what I'm saying, from day one. I was like, God damn. And it's the same day, shortly after that, while I'm standing in line, you know, blacks kind of started like, hey, man, watch out, Mexicans about to handle their business, man. And I never be watching two Mexicans, you know what I'm saying, walking the track. And they lit another one up, bro. They towed his motherfucking ass up, bro. And that's when I was humbly like, nigga, this shit is real from day one. You know what I'm saying? So within 24 hours.
Let me just pause you right there and just kind of break it down for people who may not quite understand. So the terminology Loke is a terminology that is predominantly used by Crips, especially during his generation. But a lot of people fail to realize there was a time that Bloods also used the word. But then once the Crips started saying it a lot, they stopped using it. So 9 times out of 10, when you run across somebody named Loke, you're going to automatically assume that they're a Crip. This Loke happened to be a Blood, which is why he spelled it L-O-K, like I said, which is extremely rare. And when Bear hit the prison back in 94, 95, or whenever it was, that was at a time when I called it traditional gang banging, where it was really gang banging. Because the Crips didn't want to hear the Bloods say blood. The Bloods didn't want to hear the Crips say cuz. And just calling someone by the wrong cuz or blood was enough to set off a war. And so this is what J-Lo was upset about, because basically you really dissed him by calling him cuz. In fact, they're not knowing, and with his name being J-Lo, he assumed he was a Crip.
Right.
And so back to the story with the Hispanics, though. So when you say they tore the dude up, they had knives and went to work on him, right?
Yeah, they went to work on him. So you can kind of see it coming along the chow hall, because they kind of, everybody's like, hey, man, y'all get ready. Like, it's about to go down. Messing about to handle their business. So everybody being nosy, you know what I'm saying? We all looking. And I see 2 Hispanics behind another one, you know what I mean? And as soon as they got close around that it wasn't even no blind spots there, you know what I mean? But it was closer to the shower. They took off on him, you know what I'm saying? They stabbed him up, and they doing him. They digging him out. You can, from far distance, you can see the bloodshed, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was a reality. They put the yard down, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody know about Calipatria. It's 118 out there regular, you know what I'm saying? So we on scorching ass ground, hot as a motherfucker, you know what I mean? Until they escorted everybody to the building. But yeah, that was my introduction on the first day that I was let out from a cell on a level 4 prison. I got into an altercation, not like I said, not an altercation, but I had a very small incident with a Blood individual, and I also saw the Hispanic dude getting his ass towed up. You know what I mean? So,
and so especially more of the incident of the knife play with the Hispanic getting stabbed. what did that do to your mind? Did that make you scared? Did it make you think I gotta go hard? Did you go ask for a knife? What what did it do to you mentally?
Yeah, it did. You know what I'm saying? I had went back to a cell. I was in a cell with a dude from 190 who had turned Muslim. So when they had took me off the bus, I had went into the cell with him. So he wasn't even on some gang banging shit. He had turned his life over to being a Muslim, but he kind of gave me, it's like, hey, bro, like this the real deal. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever shit because I had told him about the incident between me and old boy too. And he's like, man, you got to tighten up. You know what I mean? He's like, man, you ain't got no homeboys on the yard. You ain't got nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because you can tell that he didn't really want to participate in schooling me. You know what I'm saying? Because he had changed his life onto some different shit, but he knew I was kind of young and still, had potential. So, he didn't want to school me the wrong way. You know what I mean? But yeah, did it make me want a knife? I wouldn't say that, but it damn sure had me, you know what I'm saying, my head on a swivel from that point on. Yes, right. Indeed.
So by you being a Crip, not from Los Angeles, where any penitentiary that you go to in California, you're always going to have a large number of Crips on the yard, if not predominantly from Los Angeles. So were you embraced? Were you, how did you, because at that time, I believe, Crip love was still going around, the fact that you being a Crip alone would most of the time get you embraced and stuff. So how were you welcome?
It was different, you know what I'm saying? And it was different because I had nobody, you know what I'm saying, from my city or my close proximity to kind of gather me up and show me the ropes, tell me the game, you know what I mean? And you got to remember too, I was apprehensive because, they had that paperwork politic pushing back then, you know what I'm saying, with all the blue notes and CCOs, all of that stuff was very, very prominent back then. So I was apprehensive to allow a motherfucker to try to scoop me and game me because I don't know what you're trying to tell me, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what kind of politics you're trying to, you just don't know, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of, my first year, to be honest, was all by my lonesome. You know what I'm saying? Right. I didn't allow too many people to get close to me.
And the reason why he's saying that he didn't allow people to get close to him because he mentioned they had the Blue Note, they had the CCOs, which is a Consolidated Crip organization. The Blue Notes is a organization that it's a prison organization that incorporated and wanted the unification of all Crips. And so, we'd always hear stuff about talking to people and they'll try to basically have you fall up under their doctrine. Pretty much. And so, sometimes people had been warned against that. Don't go to prison and get under any paperwork. And so that's what he's talking about, the prison gangs, and so he was a little apprehensive to talk to people because he had, I guess, heard about, about this type of stuff happening and to be leery of it, I guess.
And like I said, at this time, bro, that shit was heavy. You know what I'm saying? It was heavy in that institution. It was heavy throughout California. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I there was a few dudes that I liked, you know what I'm saying? There was a few dudes that did try to chop it up with me, but, I kind of kept my distance because, you know what I'm saying? Most of these dudes I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing the violent nature. I've seen all the scandalous shit that's going on, you know what I mean? So I just chose to do my own, because a lot of people don't realize when you join that, you denouncing where you from, you know what I'm saying? Like you no longer from me, East Side Crip, you know what I'm saying? I'm from here. So if your homie come up over here, and he involved in something else, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, he's no longer your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? You're a part of this. So right. I was never really willing to denounce my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? So
right. Now, for those who don't know as well, Calipatria also has an extremely violent aura surrounding it and a history about it. What are some of the things that you've seen in Calipat that that still stick with you to this day?
Oh man, so yeah, man, it's I never forget it was me. So I was 16 when I got there, and there was another individual who was 19. He was from 60s, and there was another dude that was a blood. He was from Bounty Hunters, and he was, I believe, 18. So we was about the three youngest dudes to get off the bus. You know what I'm saying? And when we got there, within like the first 2 weeks, I don't even remember his name. I know he's from 60s though, but he came up out of 3 building with a knife stuck in his neck. You know what I'm saying? They come, they put the yard down, they come out that motherfucker. He got his, you know what I'm saying, the thing. They holding him up, you know what I'm saying? Still got the motherfucker stuck in his neck. And so then the blood dude, who's from Bounty Hunters, he had gotten into a fight with his celly, and the celly had bit his ear off and choked and died. Wow. And they ended up charging him with the murder. So it was a lot of shit that I saw early on that kind of, like I said, made me like, nigga, fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was some real life shit going on. And we ain't talking about the day-to-day stabbings and fightings and all of that type of shit. Cause I was partaking in a lot of bullshit myself. I didn't really mention that, but I had my situation, to be honest, my violence was with my cellies. You know what I'm saying? A lot of my cellies, I had a lot of cell fights, especially in Calipatria. You know what I mean? I was a hard-head dude. I didn't really take orders well. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfucker might be telling me something, and I just thought the worst of it. You know what I'm saying? On my first actual cell fight, it was with a nigga that was from Long Beach. He didn't even bang. But every time he out now Long Beach, like, he was, nigga, you don't even gang bang, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he was trying to teach me the game of pinochle. I don't know if people are familiar with that game, but it's a well-known jailhouse game. And I didn't know how to count the melt. And the nigga, I kept telling him, I don't want to play, bro. And he was like, man, quit acting like a bitch. And in my day, nigga, I don't play like that. And I'm like, what? So I take the stack of cards and I throw him back in his face. And he get up, nigga, and grown man, swear to God on my life, Bob mangled this old dude up in the cell. You know what I'm saying? I beat the dog shit out this dude. And so they end up moving me out of the cell with him and moving me into the same building where the young dude I was telling you about from 60 that had the knife stuck in his neck. They moved me in that building. You know what I'm saying? So when they moved me in that building was more rocking. So one building which I was in was kind of more orientation. Like they shot a lot of younger dudes in there that came off the bus. But that building 3 was over there rocking. Those were a lot of dudes that came from YA, you know what I'm saying? That had life in prison, life without, didn't give a fuck about nothing. So it was a lot more violence, a lot more squabbling going on over there. So they moved me from one building out of the cell with this dude over there into a cell with another nigga that didn't bang. You know what I'm saying? Let me rephrase that. The nigga saved from Watergate. You know what I'm saying? But at this time, the OJ case was going on. And this nigga like rooting against OJ and shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, nigga, like some police ass shit. You know what I mean? And I ended up having to wear his ass out too up in that motherfucker. He was disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? That he had did. I didn't mind taking, you know, because when you move into a cell with another individual, you got to adhere to their rules. Hey, homie, this is this. We got to clean the toilet at this time. We over here. You got to sweep the ground. We got to take turns doing that. You got to adhere to another. That's just how it is in prison. When you move into a cell with another individual, you got to adapt his rules because this is how he's been living already. You know what I'm saying? And but he did some disrespectful shit that I couldn't take back. You know what I mean? I ain't afraid to mention it, but we was on lockdown, and you know what I mean? I know it happens in other institutions, but a nigga was jacking off and shit, you know what I'm saying, on the other side of the curtain while I woke. Like, you know what I'm saying? He could have did that shit when I was asleep. And I end up hearing the motion, and I came over that motherfucker and did my shit, you know what I'm saying? And at that point, I'm still 16. Matter of fact, I might have been 17 on the second fight. And they ended up putting me on single cell status after that one. So they wouldn't move another individual in the cell with me for about 4 or 5 months. So I kind of stayed in the cell by myself.
Right. And for those who are not familiar with, you know, I don't know if it's all prison policies, but in California prison, it's very disrespectful to, you know, to have sexual relations with yourself while your cellie is in there, you know. And so that's what Bear became upset about. Also, you mentioned earlier that sometimes you have to adhere to people's rules when you move in the cell with them. And a lot of times, yeah, that's true. You know, people are very peculiar about what they like and what they don't like. But I was never one of those individuals who felt, and some people feel like this, that this is my cell, you know. And so if you move into the cell, hey, this is my cell, you know, to me it was always, this is a state cell. They'll move me out just as quick as they'll move you. But yeah, some people were extremely finicky and you know, those were the people who I tried to stay away from, the people who were possessive of, you know, in my opinion, state cells and stuff. But you mentioned that you got into a lot of cell fights and stuff, and you weren't the type to go for people trying to give you advice. Do you think they was trying to did you feel they was trying to school you, or did you feel they was trying to basically pick at you because you was a youngster, or what was
100% because I was a youngster. Because I'm the type of dude to sit on my bunk and mind my business. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have no support. I didn't have no TV. You know what I'm saying? I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't drink coffee. I don't. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything. I didn't participate. You know, I came out the yard. I bird bath because you know when you come out the yard, it's 100 degrees. You got that yard smell. You know what I'm saying? I took care of him. I was a very clean individual. So it really wasn't nothing that I partook in that would make a motherfucker wanna. You know what I'm saying? Like pick at me or like, nigga, you doing something wrong. I kind of held my program straight from the day I got in to the day I got out. So a lot of those incidents was dudes trying to take advantage of me because they thought I was just a impressionable young punk. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I felt. I still to this day, as I look back on some of the fights that partook, like I don't see me being in the wrong in any of them. You know what I'm saying? I was using it because I'm a cold kickback dude. Like I don't bother nobody. You know what I'm saying? So especially with the cowboy dude. You know what I'm saying? Because that nigga was, like I said, the OJ kid, I don't give a fuck about what happened in the case, but that nigga was saying police ass shit. He always, I'm a Reginald Watergate. Nigga, he was a buster. You feel me? That's just how I felt. But the nigga wouldn't let me watch it. He would move his TV out the way so I couldn't see it. You know, when you move into a cell with a dude and you ain't got shit, it's almost human-like to want to share. Like, my nigga, you straight? You want a noodle? None of that shit. He was just a weirdo-ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? I ate my sack lunch and the lunch that the institution gave me. That's it with that dude. So when I seen what he was doing, I was looking for my moment. You know what I'm saying? To keep it 100. Like, I didn't want to be in a cell with this nigga. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no police in me to go be like, hey, I want to move cells. So when that nigga did what he did, I couldn't wait. I was salivating on that. Now, you know what I mean?
Right. And the majority of the time that I have a cellie, like you said, man, I've tried my hardest to live, you know, because when you're in a cell with somebody, you guys try your hardest to bond together. Like he said, man, if a person didn't have a TV, I'd adjust my TV where they could see it. There was a time or two I'd even, you know, put my TV up there or let them come down to see it or stuff like that. And from time to time, you do have dudes in prison who are extremely weird. They have their, you know, weird little ways about them. And now that I'm older, I realize that it's very, you know, we're all very fortunate to make it up out of those cells because you never know what type of mental or emotional damage a person is going through and stuff up in there. And us being men, we don't talk about and let a lot of that stuff out, man. And so, yeah. So who were, you know, when you were in Calipat during that time, was it any, you know, we have a lot of notable or reputable prison names. Were you down there with any, you know, any of these guys who are prison legends or stuff like that?
Calipatria, not really. It was a lot of dudes down there, but I didn't start really running into a lot of prison legends until I had got to Salinas Valley years ago. But like Big U had hit the yard. Trady, I was locked up with Trady before. Tony Stacy from Hoover, Big Lon from Hoover. It's a lot of dudes. Cedarl from 6-0, a Horse from 6-0. It was a lot of reputable dudes that was, you know what I'm saying? That's street and prison legends that I was locked up with. Yeah, yes, indeed. Calipatria, not that I know of. I know Salinas Valley is when I started running to niggas like, oh, I heard about him. You know what I'm saying? That type of shit. So,
right. When you were at Calipatria, did you ever witness or either see or participate in any type of like race riots or?
No, I was there when the incident happened with the police. I was on a different yard. And that was about the most craziest shit that happened for me because on our yard, while I was there, they had about 3 or 4 Northerners hit the yard and they instantly took off. You know what I'm saying? So that was, I mean, riot wise. But at the first yard that I went to on CR, I didn't see no race riots at all. Most of the fights was usually Southern against Southern, Crip on Crip. You know what I'm saying? It was real politics. Motherfuckers was really, you know what I'm saying? They over here, we didn't even go on that side of the yard. You know what I'm saying? We didn't go nowhere near the Southerners to violate they you know what I'm saying? They area. So people like, you know, even the Bloods, like it wasn't a lot of tension. It wasn't a lot of tension over there. Outside of the Northerners coming there, there was about 3 or 4 of them, and nigga, they did they shit, you know what I'm saying, to keep them 100, because it caught the Southsiders off guard, you know what I mean? Nobody notified them, let them know that these dudes had just hit the yard, you know what I'm saying? So when they came out, they didn't know what the fuck was going on, you know what I mean? So, but no, it didn't have no race riots. It was just a lot of personal beefs, you know what I'm saying? I had moved from C yard to D yard, and when I went to D yard was the softest yard in that facility. But they was killing over there too. You know what I'm saying? Whites and whites killing each other. I saw a white boy stab another white boy up. Going, you know, he was going to walk. He was walking with his law library stuff, like he was trying to beat his case. And matter of fact, the dude who did it, he was from out of Bakersfield. I had met him on the previous yard because it was him and his brother. They both had got 3 strikes from. They had both got 25 to life off this 3 strikes case, and they was both on me. I was on C yard with them together. And then when I came over, one of the brothers came over there, and he was involved in some shit. You know what I mean? But for the most part, my whole stay in Calipatria wasn't really a lot of race riots, none whatsoever. Just a lot of violence on violence.
These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what you saying, cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what you saying, cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. Yeah, I swear to God, the game is cold, homie. Why? I popped on a pussy ass nigga after he stole on me.
What happened next?
That nigga gained a court and told on me.
Put that on something.
That's on my soul, homie. Called the highway patrol on me, plus the sheriffs and cops. He told him my name was Eric and I carried the Glock. Soon as you start blowing shots, them niggas going to tail. They'll have a meeting with the cops and then you going to jail. They'll tell him about the shooting, take him, show him his well. DA trying to seal your casket, they gon' throw him the nails. They wanna put me back in the cell and have me with an L again. Same strip searches and guards reading my mail again. Had me far away in the bay, I'm talking Pelican. Eating cold ass soy burgers and warm gelatin. I'm far too intelligent to fall for that twice. Niggas yelling gang gang and ain't about that life. And they'll turn rat right in front of your face. Get you found guilty plus 100 years on the case. Your mama sitting in the courtroom with tears on her face. Her baby shackle feet, hands and waist.
Goddamn.
These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what you saying, cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what you saying, cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. Yeah.